Hello friends, I'm George, the nice medic gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys. I hope that all of you are doing good. It's time for another episode of Fragrance Battle. In this episode of Fragrance Battle, I'm going to compare three fragrances that are trying to do the same thing, and that's being a nice, youthful, sweet, bubblegummy type of scents. Two of those fragrances featured in this video will be from the house of Lattafa. One of them is called Najdia, the other one is called Hayaati, and the third fragrance in this fragrance battle is going to be the much hyped Rasasi Hawas. Now, usually I start my fragrance battle videos with a comparison of the packaging and the bottle design of the fragrances mentioned in the video, but in this case I'm going to skip the actual packaging because to be honest, all three fragrances come packaged in a sort of a generic way. There's nothing special about them. But I want to mention one thing, and that's the fact that my bottle of Lattafa Najdia came packaged with a deodorant spray inside. I think it was a 50 milliliter one, which is a nice touch, and I have to give Lattafa props for that. When it comes to the actual bottle design, for me the least impressive bottle design in this trio is reserved for Najdia. Now, this is not a bad looking fragrance at all, but as I said, it's the most generic bottle design, and the other fact is that this has a very plasticky cap that feels really cheap, and it's not a snug fit at all. So Lattafa Najdia for me has sort of the least impressive bottle design. When it comes to the other two fragrances, for me Hayaati has a more interesting bottle design. I actually really like this sort of a squarish bottle design. Again, you get a plastic cap, but at least here it's more of a snug fit, and the whole bottle has a slightly higher quality feel compared to Najdia. And the first place when it comes to the actual bottle design is reserved for Hawas. Now, this thing has a really nice looking bottle. I really like the way that this bottle looks. It has nice heft to it. Also love this sort of purplish juice color, and this thing comes with a metallic cap that feels of very high quality and actually is a very snug fit. So when it comes to the actual bottle design, for me the best looking bottle here is reserved for Hawas. If you enjoy my videos guys, but for some reason you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. It really motivates me to keep creating more useful content for you. And also don't forget to hit the notification bell so don't miss any of my future videos. Next way that I'm going to compare the three fragrances featured in this video is going to be the way of comparing their scents. Now, all three fragrances, as I said in the opening of this video, they're trying to do the same thing. They're a sweet, musky, fresh kind of fragrances that are great for warm weather, you know, for summertime. And all three often get compared to fragrances like Paco Rabanne's Invictus and Invictus Aqua, and for a good reason. They have very similar scent profiles to those fragrances from Paco Rabanne. Now, I'm going to list them in the order that I enjoy the three fragrances, and the least enjoyable for me has been Lattafa Najdia. Now, again, this is not a bad fragrance by any means. This has a nice and you know, very generic and at the same time nice, fresh, sweet, bubblegummy type of scent profile. The opening is fruity, sweet. You got apple, you got bergamot, and then when this dries down, it dries down to an interesting mix of, again, that apple, some vanilla, some other sweetness, some spices, some woods. All in all, a very sort of a simple but at the same time a very likable scent profile that feels kind of generic, but at the same time just simply works in warm weather. So as a standalone fragrance, this is not a bad fragrance, but for me this is the least interesting scent profile. The next one in order that I like is Hayaati from again from Lattafa. This is very similar to Najdia, but at the same time just for me feels of a slightly higher quality, feels slightly sweeter. The apple note in here feels slightly stronger compared to Najdia. The dry down is pretty similar. Again, this dries down to a mix of that apple, some woods, some spices. All in all, this again is a sort of a generic scent on its own, but at the same time very likable, very easy to wear, a dumb rich type of fragrance, and I actually enjoyed quite a lot and enjoyed more compared to Najdia. Now, when it comes to the quality of the scent, the highest quality here is undoubtedly reserved for Hawas. Again, it's pretty similar to the two fragrances from Lattafa, but I feel that this has slightly better quality. It has a little bit more interesting notes, you know, twists on its scent. You get in addition to the apple, you know, and the freshness in the opening, you got a sweet plum note in here. You got some marine type of notes, you know, aquatic saltiness to this fragrance that just adds a little bit more of an interesting you know, twist to the whole scent profile. It's a little bit less musky on the dry down, and all in all, this just feels of the highest quality in here. And for me, the most enjoyable scent out of the three is reserved for Hawas from Rasasi. The next way that I'm going to compare the three fragrances is, of course, by their performance. And the least performing fragrance, the worst performing fragrance out of this trio, at least on my skin, I'm going to simply share my experience with their performance, is again reserved for Najdia from Lattafa. Now, I know that some people are actually very happy with the performance of their bottles, but for some reason this thing just has not worked very well. I've been getting somewhere about 6 to 6.5 hours. I've been getting somewhere about 6 to 6.5 hours of performance out of Najdia. Again, given the price tag of this fragrance, which I'll talk about a little bit later, and given the, you know, the sweet and sort of a very light scent profile, you know, a summery scent profile, this is not a bad performer on its own. But out of the three fragrances here, this has been the worst performer. The next one when it comes to performance has been Hayaati. Now, this has given me a little bit better performance compared to Najdia. I've been getting somewhere between half an hour to up to 1 hour extra over Najdia, so somewhere between 6.5 to 7 hours of performance out of Hayaati. And also the projection here is stronger compared to Najdia, excuse me. So Hayaati is definitely a better performer, at least on my skin and in my experience, compared to Najdia. And the best performer out of the three here has been again Rasasi Hawas. This thing lasts very long, especially considering that this is a very fresh and summertime scent. It's always been giving me over 8 hours of performance with stronger projection compared to the other two fragrances. So all in all, the best performer out of the three here has been Rasasi Hawas. The next way that I'm going to compare the three fragrances is going to be by its pricing. Now, I'm going to quote the prices that I've been paying for these fragrances and the prices that are currently going around, you know, around where I live. So here the most expensive fragrance actually finishes in last position, you know, when it comes to this section of the video. And the most expensive fragrance here has been Hawas. Now, at least around here, you know, Hawas has really had a quite a price increase in the past year. Also, this thing has received a lot of hype. You know, people have been hyping up this fragrance on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram and whatnot, you know, all kind of social medias, and this has reflected on its price, at least here in Europe. Currently this thing goes for somewhere around about the 50-55 euro mark, which puts it into the territory of designer price, you know, designer fragrances. And also one thing that I have to mention is the fact that this is a 90 milliliter bottle, so you're getting a little bit less juice compared to the other two fragrances. So this is the most expensive fragrance in here, and it comes in last position when it comes to the actual price tag. In the middle is Najdia. Now, I paid slightly over 20 euros in order to get Najdia here, which puts it as a good cheapie and a few times cheaper compared to Hawas, but still not the cheapest one in here. And but again, considering that the fact that you get a a decent scent that comes, also a fragrance that comes packaged with a deodorant spray, a price tag of about 20 euros is all right in my opinion. The cheapest fragrance in here for me was Hayaati. I paid less than 20 euros. I think I paid something like 18 euros in order to get Hayaati, which makes it super affordable and a great deal, especially considering that this has stronger performance than Najdia and at the same time is cheaper. So when it comes to the pricing, the winner for me has been Hayaati. I'm not going to compare the three fragrances when it comes to their versatility, simply because scent-wise they're very close, they serve pretty much the same purpose, so they're equally versatile. And that brings me to, the final score of this fragrance battle. Now, again, this is the way that I perceive, I think about the three fragrances in this fragrance battle. And for me, the fragrance that comes in third place, in last place, is Najdia. Now, On its own, this is not a bad scent, you know, it's a nice summertime fresh cheapie, but compared to the other two fragrances, it has less of a performance, it has less of a quality when it comes to the packaging and the bottle design, and less of a quality when it comes to the actual scent profile. So that's the reason why Najdia comes in third position. Now in second position, this might surprise you, but for me in this fragrance battle is going to be, second position is going to be for Rasasi Hawas. And I'll tell you why this is the case. Now on its own, compared to the other two fragrances, this is the best quality fragrance in here. It has the highest quality scent, it has the highest quality when it comes to the bottle design, it has the best performance, but the problem here is the price. As I said, at least here in Europe, this thing has become very costly. This costs around about 55-60 euros, which puts it into the territory of designer scents. And compared to Hayaati, which is the winner in this fragrance battle, I can pick up 3 bottles of Hayaati for the price of 1 bottle of Hawas. And on top of that, Hawas is 90 milliliters in bottle size, whereas Hayaati is 100 milliliters in bottle size. So simply because of the high pricing, at least here in Europe, Hawas comes in second position in this fragrance battle. If it was not for the pricing, this would have been the winner. So the winner in this fragrance battle for me is Lattafa Hayaati. And a few reasons why this is the case. This is the cheapest fragrance in this trio of scents. It has better quality scent-wise compared to Najdia in my opinion, and it's pretty close to Hawas, and also it has better performance compared to Najdia, and it comes pretty close to Hawas, and all in all it's the cheapest one in here, and that's the reason why I think this is the best deal out of the 3 fragrances, and this is the winner in this fragrance battle. So guys, in today's episode of Fragrance Battle, I compared 3 fragrances, 2 from the house of Lattafa, Lattafa Najdia and Lattafa Hayaati, and the much hyped Rasasi Hawas. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in my next video. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.